Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Do You Agree, the sports talk show. Today's Season 3, Episode 1. As always, I'm your host, Collin Spiker, alongside my friend and co-host, David Farr.
We're back. We're back.
You guys have been on this journey with us. Started in a dorm room, last year in an apartment, now we're in a house.
Yes, we've now achieved maximum capacity.
Yeah,
we're in a house. We are no longer surrounded by roommates, and we are off to ourselves, living the real adult lives.
Oh, adulthood. We hit it. Adulthood. So, clearly, there's better lighting. There's better audio.
Yeah.
So, to you who donated, thank you. I hope you got our thank you letters because we can't explain. It was.
We couldn't do it. We couldn't, make our things that we use to make these videos and stuff like that better, and the audio better without you guys. So we really do thank you guys.
Thank you. So let's get right into it. Oh, it's so good to be back, David. So Thursday night football, Eagles went into Green Bay and beat the Packers 34-27. It was a great game. What'd you think of it?
I'm sure you thought it was a great game.
I thought it was a lovely game.
It was a very good game. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Who's this guy, man?
This is Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz had a great game. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He looked great out there. Eagles won 34-27.
I've got to take a drink because I'm just this kid over here. When he ever talks about the Eagles, I'm exhausted.
34-27. They're now 2-2. Packers fall to 3-1. Nigel Bradham intercepted Aaron Rodgers. His first interception in 212 passes in the end zone.
He does not throw interceptions, so it was big. I mean, it was tipped on a ball he thought he could fit in there. Later saw that if you'd have waited half a second, he hits the guy running the out route for a touchdown. But, tough loss for the Packers. The Eagles played a lot better than I thought they would play.
Honestly, me too.
Road teams on Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football normally do not play that well. And
especially in Green Bay.
Yeah, in Green Bay. And the Eagles haven't been playing well, so I don't know. Personally, I like the Packers tonight, but obviously the Eagles pulled it out.
Jordan Howard had a total of 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. And like I said, Carson Wentz really showed himself tonight.
Okay.
He did a great job.
Take another drink.
Didn't have receivers last week against the Lions. Alshon Jeffrey came back and looked great. So Eagles now 2-2, and the Packers now 3-1.
Yep.
That's Thursday night football. And quick prayers to both Jamal Williams and Avonte Maddox, who were both stretchered off the fields. Yep. Hopefully they'll be both okay. They looked pretty nasty for what we saw.
Yeah. I mean, I know. Who was the second guy that went down?
Avonte
Maddox. He was down for a while.
It was a long time.
So
hopefully the two of those are both okay.
For sure.
So now we're going to talk MLB wildcard. We're almost there. You got the final series this weekend. So as we stand in the AL right now, the Athletics are a game ahead in the wildcard.
Yep.
And then Tampa Bay Rays have that final wildcard spot.
Behind them, yeah.
And then the Indians are 2 games back with the final weekend series left of the season.
Yeah.
And then in the NL, you have the Brewers and the Nationals. They have both wild card spots. Brewers trying to catch the Cardinals this weekend, so we'll see how that goes.
Their division's pretty close. The Brewers obviously just lost Christian Yelich for the year, but then got really hot despite of that. So I'm interested to see
I think they're 9-1 in their last 10.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
crazy.
really interested to see how well they play in the playoffs and see if they can win a couple series. You never know.
And then the Nationals, obviously, that's a huge surprise. And I would even consider the Braves being a big surprise. I definitely thought the Braves would be good this year, but not as good as they have.
They had a couple guys that were really, really young, like Ozzie Albies just being crazy. Ronald Acuna, 40 home runs, and I think he's close to 40 stolen bases if he doesn't have it already.
Yeah, he's definitely in the 40-30 club, which I think he's the second youngest player to do that.
Yeah, he would be the youngest player if he got to the 40-40 club, which I don't know how close he is right now. But I mean, I think he has 43 home runs. He's like 20.
It's impressive. Yeah,
he's like 20 years old.
Imagine if you could do that.
Yeah,
I'm 21, but imagine if you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just honestly crazy thing. But he's playing out there with grown men, and
absolutely.
He's he's hitting 40 bombs and stealing a ton of bases too. So
yeah. So now we are heading into week 5 of the college football season. We talked a lot about the NFL earlier this week in the podcast, so we're going to focus more on college football. So we're through the first 4 weeks. You've starting to learn about what teams are going to be like this season, how they'll play. So what are your 4 playoff teams right now?
Right now, these are not the 4 teams that I would have thought I would pick in the preseason, but I've got Bama, which I pretty much knew I would have still to this day.
Yes.
Clemson, mainly because it's not really because they've shown me a lot, like in the games they've played. It's just
like
they don't
talent-wise.
Yeah, they don't. But they just don't play anyone that has a chance of beating them. I don't think they play anyone with enough talent to actually beat them.
I agree.
I think they're like, it's a crazy number. It's like they have a 70-some% chance to go undefeated, which is just crazy. They've got 80% chance of winning in the rest of their games or something like that. So I just don't think they have the competition. So I think they'll definitely be in. Ohio State, Justin Fields has been a monster.
He's dirty. 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
He's an absolute monster. He's running it. He's throwing it. He's looked really, really good. I don't know if...
I think he's the first college quarterback in college football history to have a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown every game thus far.
Yeah, true. I think, I saw that stat today as well.
And your 4th?
I want to say LSU. I think a one-loss SEC West team, whether it be Bama or LSU, whoever wins that game, either in the middle of the season, I believe they play. I think it's in November, but I'm not positive. I think the other team could still get in because I think the other team wins out.
Okay.
A lot of people would say Oklahoma in that spot. Especially if they win the Big 12, but I think they'll have a loss. I don't know who it'll be, but I think they'll have a loss.
Okay. And then for me, I think we can both agree with Bama.
Yeah.
Regardless if they do end up losing to LSU or if they lose in the SEC championship.
Their name is Bama.
Exactly. I do have Clemson. I didn't want to put Clemson in here, but just their strength of schedule is so weak.
So bad. Yeah.
And they never really go up against competition until the football playoff comes around.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think I was starting to think about this when you were talking about Clemson. I think it would be really interesting because, you see some teams, whether it's college basketball or college football, that university or that college will go to a different conference specifically for that sport.
Yeah, yeah.
So what if Clemson went to the SEC just for football?
I would argue that just because it would make it harder for Clemson and they would actually have to play teams.
Yeah.
But are you going to load the SEC up even more? The SEC already is in the SEC already. I think they have 9 teams in the top 20 or something.
They have 5 teams in the top 9.
Yeah,
and something ridiculous.
They have half the teams in the top 10. Come on, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you stick that would be 6 teams in the top 10. I think maybe if they went to the Big 12 or the Big 10.
I was thinking Big 10. Big 10 would be pretty interesting.
They would have some other competition.
But in the ACC, there hasn't been competition since Jameis Winston and Dalvin Cook were at Florida State.
Exactly, and that was 2013 or 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there, and then sometimes Virginia Tech is good. They always have a good defense, but they haven't been elite. They're winning 9 games a year, but they're not elite enough to beat Clemson. They play Clemson, and Clemson beats about 30.
So I have Bama, Clemson. I'm also going to go with Ohio State, and then my 4th team is Oklahoma. So I had a couple deciding games, Bama, LSU.
Yeah.
So in theory, whoever wins that game is going to go to the SEC championship.
Yeah.
So if Bama loses and they don't go to the SEC championship, and it's LSU who does, and then they lose to SEC East team, I think that could shake things up.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin proved they were real, especially their running back. I forget his
name. Jonathan
Taylor.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
Now, I do not think Michigan's very good. I think that's the reason they really, really put a hurt on them.
Their offense just isn't there.
Michigan just is not that good. I thought they were ranked way too high preseason. I saw they were 6 or 7. I was like, no way. I didn't really have any belief in Michigan in the beginning. Now, I think Wisconsin's good, but I don't think they're good enough to beat Ohio State.
I think that'll be interesting. And then Oklahoma, Texas. Obviously, they play later this season, and it could be the Big 12 championship as well.
Yeah.
So those are a couple deciding games for me, and who could get into the
They could play
playoff.
twice because if they play the regular season
And then in the
then
championship.
possibly in the
Exactly.
championship. Yeah.
And then a couple teams that I'm looking at on the edge. Clearly, LSU, like you said, I don't have LSU in my top 4.
Yeah,
But I
Joe
think it's possible.
Burrow, he's
been incredible.
The guy was.
Did anyone expect it?
He was a scrub last year, and for some reason, at the beginning of the year, I really loved Texas to beat them. Because I was like, oh man, like Texas can score, and Joe Burrow is a scrub. And then
they came out firing.
Then he threw for like 500 yards and like 4 touchdowns. I was like, this guy, and he's done it like every game.
Yeah, he had 6 touchdowns, the most as an LSU QB earlier.
Like just
2 weeks
crazy
ago.
numbers, and with their defense, bro.
Yeah.
Grant Delpit is crazy too. Like they're really good.
And a team neither of us mentioned, Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
So them and Florida are the 2 teams really in the SEC East.
Yeah.
And I think there is clearly one that both of us would pick. And it would be Georgia.
Definitely be Georgia.
So if Georgia goes on to be undefeated
And then
into the SEC championship and either beat Bama or LSU or even win it all, they clearly would have a spot as well.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them because they always give Bama a good game, and
100% always.
I would say I would honestly like them over LSU. Now I don't like them over Bama, but they always give Bama a good game. So like, you never know what could happen in that type of game. So if Georgia wins the SEC championship, like you have to put them in. There's no way you don't.
So it'll be really interesting, especially with these SEC teams, who goes in, who goes out. If there are 2 SEC teams, who doesn't get in?
I mean, I've worked out some scenarios in my head, and this is when I knew the SEC was just way overpowered, where it's possible that 3 SEC teams could get in. 3 of them.
I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Because
I wouldn't say it's
what I'm
impossible.
saying. Because
if you have Alabama, LSU, one of them loses. The other goes to the SEC championship undefeated.
Yeah, and loses.
Georgia.
And Georgia wins.
Or Florida. Most likely Georgia. And Georgia wins. You have an undefeated Georgia team. Yeah. You have a 1-loss Bama team and a 1-loss LSU team.
And if Oklahoma has a loss, like.
Or if Ohio State doesn't do well.
Yeah, 1 loss in the SEC is
that would be interesting.
Is like 0.7 of a loss in any other conference. You know?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would.
Hey, we're only heading into week 5. We got plenty of time.
We do.
And we got plenty of time to talk sports with you guys. Guys, we're so excited to be back. As always, I've been your host, Collin Spiker, with my friend and co-host and my housemate, David Farr.
Yes, sir.
This has been Do You Agree? The Sports Talk Show, Season 3, Episode 1. We will talk to you guys soon. See ya.